Oh, hello there, European. I see you may be in need of some distraction right about now, and personally, I don't blame you. And maybe you've heard of this NBA thing over here in America, and you might even be a little bit curious about a sport where scoring happens more than twice every 90 minutes. Ah yes, the NBA, the ultimate sport for the dopamine generation. And much like your favorite sport, the objective is pretty much the same. You dribble, you pass, and you shoot, trying to get a ball into a net. I mean, come on, go ahead and watch this fast break and tell me that it doesn't look eerily similar to a beautiful counterattack in your guys' football. And I think this is partially why it's been way more successful in spreading the game internationally. When it comes to international exposure, it's been putting the NFL to shame for decades. And yes, there are other rules and intricacies about it, but much like all other American sports, you know the deal. Every time anything noteworthy happens, the broadcast will go ahead and show 6 replays, all in slow motion from angles you didn't even know were possible, while 2 commentators break down in detail everything that happens 3 times over. So don't worry about learning the rules, it'll be drilled into you. And honestly, you don't need to know the rules to understand this.
Here's Jim.
Yeah, you understand awesome, alright? And the point of this video is not to get into all the minutiae and the details. No, it's just to give you a quick Spark Notes guide on how to get into the NBA. Who are the players to watch, the storylines of the season so far, the big trades that just happened, and hopefully, by the end of this, you'll be primed and ready to watch America's beautiful game. So welcome, my non-American, to a Clueless guide to the NBA. Now, first off, I'd like to give a quick little shout out to my boys, Jimmy and Justin, because full disclosure, I've been a fan of the NBA since the days of Space Jam 1. But I'm not a hardcore fan, not as hardcore as my homies, so big thanks to them for helping me out write this. But first off, you might be asking yourself, hey, why the f*** are you making this after the All-Star break? Half the season is already done, you lazy f***. And first off, not wrong, but secondly, oh dear child, let me let you in on a little secret all American fans already know about the NBA, but they don't want to admit, and that is, the NBA season doesn't really matter until after the All-Star break. It just simply doesn't. There's too many games in the regular season, and unlike in your footy league, where every game matters because the record at the end of the season ultimately determines the champion, in American sports, you just need a record good enough to make it into the playoffs. And the other reason why I'm doing this after the trade deadline is because players move around so frequently now that anything I would have said at the start of the season would have been outdated. Now don't get me wrong, the regular season can be exciting and fun to watch, but ultimately, unless a team or a player is on some historic run, it doesn't really matter until about halfway. In fact, a lot of the smarter teams, they do load management, where they don't always play their stars every single game, or they limit their minutes till you get to the playoffs. And that's when everything fucking matters. And bruh, play basketball is the fucking best.
Back to Doncic. Doncic pulls up, 3-pointer. Bang! Bang! It's good! Doncic wins the game at the buzzer!
Honestly, it's one of the most riveting sports products consistently year after year. Right up there with the NFL playoffs and the Champions League knockout stages. It's just as good. The intensity, the tactics, it's all turned up to 11, where any weakness is exploited mercilessly. Playing basketball makes my dick so hard that I gotta make a separate video on it. But for this video, first, let's just focus on the basics, alright? Now, the second thing that you need to understand about the NBA is quick history lesson. The NBA is drastically different than what it was just 10 years ago. For the longest time, getting the ball into the big man, close to the basket, and having him score was the most logical and most consistent way to get buckets in the NBA. There was never ever a team in NBA history that was good enough to win through pure shooting. So historically, big men like Wilt Chamberlain, Shaquille O'Neal, Tim Duncan, they ruled the roost. That was until the Warriors broke basketball. Now you probably already know about this Steph Curry character because, he does this.
Steph, the deep 3.
He's one of the most entertaining players to watch. He's the greatest shooter of all time. But what you might not know is early on in his career, he looked like a bust. And that was not for lack of skill or his shooting was still great then, but he was just always hurt. He had ankles made of glass. And every single season, he just could not stay healthy. And the Warriors sucked massive dick back then. They just made awful draft pick after awful draft pick after awful draft pick for 50 years. Statistically, that should be impossible. They should have lucked out at least on 1 or 2. And when they took an undersized Steph Curry and his ankles started to disintegrate, everyone just rolled their eyes and just thought, oh, it's another first-round bust for the Warriors. But because the Warriors sucked, that allowed them to draft high enough to get a guy named Klay Thompson. And then something interesting happened. Miraculously, Steph Curry healed his ankles. He was finally able to stay healthy. And these two players would literally change the way the NBA is played, because it just so happened that these two players became two of the greatest three-point shooters in NBA history. And what you gotta understand is 10 years ago, shooting threes used to be looked at as like a low percentage Hail Mary that you would only take if you were completely wide open or if it was late in a game and you had to catch up quick. If you passed up an easy two to shoot a wide open three-pointer, a coach would bench your ass for the rest of the game.
I'm a little bit, what is that? I don't know. It's a long shot. What's he doing?
I don't know what that was. I don't think Mike Brown liked it. He's taking him out of the game on that one.
This was just taught in basketball. It was gospel from grade school to the league. You don't shoot threes unless pretty much you absolutely have to. And that was just the way it was until Steph and Clay proved the NBA wrong. Because the Warriors proved that you could win a championship by just making more threes than your opponent. And some people at first thought it was a fluke. That didn't last long because next season, they lit everyone the fuck up. That 2016 Golden State Warriors team set the best record ever for a regular season at 73-9. Better than the Michael Jordan Bulls. And then miraculously, somehow lost in the finals after being up 3-1. They lost to LeBron in the most epic finals in the past 20 years. And as a Warriors fan, I'm still not over it. So what did the Warriors go and do? They got fucking Kevin Durant! Yeah, because that year just so happened to coincide with a massive increase in salary cap, which gave the Warriors enough room to bring in Kevin fucking Durant to already the greatest regular season team the world has ever seen. And then was right back into the finals up against LeBron. And yeah, it was just too much for the King to handle. Golden State won that one, and then they won the next one. And honestly, they probably would have won a third in a row if KD and Klay Thompson didn't get injured in the finals. By this point, the rest of the league was like, okay, we gotta do something. It was either adapt or die. So pretty much now in the NBA, everyone and their mama can shoot threes. Even the big men, the 7-footers, have to shoot threes now. If you're a big man, you can't shoot a three, you're pretty much obsolete in the NBA. And lucky for you, the game is way more offensive now, as opposed to the 90s and 80s where shit like this would happen. Yeah. The NBA was a different time in the 90s. Good times. So you get it, the game is less about lumbering big boys and now a game about ball movement and chucking threes. So the next logical question you might be asking yourself is, what team should I follow? What team should I become a fan of? But besides the Warriors, because I don't want to be labeled a bandwagoner. And honestly, yeah, don't be a Warriors fan. They're the most annoying fans on Twitter. But for most of my European viewers here, I think there is a pretty obvious choice. And that is, I think most of y'all should be rooting for the Dallas Mavericks. And that is simply because they got the best up-and-coming superstar in the NBA. And he also happens to be European. Yep, you know him, you love him, it's Luka. And while names like KD, LeBron, and Curry are the current kings of the court, this Luka kid is calling next. Now, what's fascinating about him is he isn't actually super athletically gifted by NBA standard. He apparently tested horribly in speed and jumping, which is pretty important in basketball. But in that testing, what they also found out was that he is nearly superhuman at stopping and starting. And in the modern NBA, where you just gotta make half a yard of space to get your shot off, when he's on, he's nearly unguardable. And he's not just a pure scorer. His combination of basketball IQ, his court vision, and his playmaking ability is all already elite. He's not just good for a European. He's just straight up one of the best players in the league already. And his highlight reel is must-watch YouTube fodder. And if he can get his three-point shooting just a little bit more consistent, we could be looking at a future league MVP and possible champion in the making. And on top of that, the Mavericks have just always had a long tradition with European players. Of course, they famously won a championship with former MVP Dirk Nowitzki. That big boy was from Germany. And of course, now they drafted Luka Doncic. And then even back in the day, they had Steve Nash for a time. Okay, I know. He's Canadian, but, you know, close enough. And honestly, he should be an honorary European because he's on record of saying that he used tactics from his time playing European football to revolutionize spacing and passing in the NBA. And even recently, they traded for more Europeans. They traded for Kristaps Porzingis, and they got Boban. Considering this team's history, you could call them Team White Power. In a non-racist way. I mean, the team has a history of having great white power forwards. Just saying. But if you're a little bit too impatient for a European to take over the NBA, well, what if I told you the Europeans have already taken over the NBA? Because the current reigning champion of the NBA and the NBA Finals MVP is also European. Of course, I'm talking about the Greek freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo. In a land of genetic monsters, Giannis might be the freakiest. The man's body looks like he was personally sculpted by God to play basketball. A pterodactyl-esque wingspan, athleticism to jump out of the gym, a former MVP winner, and a former Defensive Player of the Year. He is not just a Greek freak, he is a Greek god. He should be on Mount Olympus for basketball. What is there not to love? The only question about him was never his ability, but there was this narrative that, for the longest time, he just always seemed to shrivel in the playoffs. But, not last year, because he silenced all the critics. Just to make it to the finals, he had to come from behind in a series to take out the Brooklyn Nets, a team led by Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving. And then he went on to beat a lightning-hot Suns team to lift his first NBA championship. A championship that he capped off in Game 6 by dropping a 50-burger on the Suns. And then after the game, went to a Chick-fil-A and ate 50 chicken nuggets on IG Live. What a legend. And the man is just a marvel to watch. His long strides, his Gumby arms make him the greatest dunk threat the league has ever seen. Just go ahead, check out a few of his games that he's playing, especially in the playoffs, and you will not be disappointed. But wait, Europeans, there's actually more. Because Luka is probably an MVP in the making. You got Giannis, who's the former MVP. Would you like to guess who's the current MVP? Yeah, he's also European. I'm talking about the Serbian Titan, Nikola Jokic. Now, I told you that the big man is kind of obsolete in the NBA, but not this one. Nah, this 7-footer is a fucking unicorn. Because this Goliath of a man has the passing and shooting ability nearly equal to a Steph Curry. He's very much kind of like Luka, but even taller. And because he's taller than everyone, he can see over everyone. And the length in his arms allows him to make passes over the top of defenders that are pretty much unguardable. Oh, and he can also shoot the three. And when he's behind that three-point line, at 7 foot tall, no one's blocking his shot. The man shoots like an old guy at the YMCA, but he's so fucking tall it doesn't even matter. And that's just on the perimeter. When he's in near the post, he's got Hakeem-level footwork and a feathery soft touch around the rim. Now, he's not the flashiest player in the world, but all these subtleties, all these little things add up to make a superstar, an all-world player. And he's even breaking decades of stereotypes that European players are soft because he nearly ended this dude's career by checking him. Seriously, do not fuck with Serbians, bro. Also, his brothers are like trying to fight everybody at every game. It's hilarious. So I'm just laying it out for you, my European friends. 3 of the best players in the NBA right now are European. And you can make an argument that the 2 best players in the NBA right now are European. But this European invasion is not anything new in the NBA. In fact, Europe and the NBA have had a long history dating back for nearly 50 years. There have always been a proud line of European players coming into the NBA. Of course, there was Dirk, and even before him, there was Vlade Divac, who was one of the first big men who could really pass the ball, as well as revolutionizing flopping in the NBA. And I know you Europeans love flopping. It's like your favorite part of football. I get it. And you brought that love of flopping into the NBA, and now it is a crucial and quintessential part of basketball. So in your European honor, I'd like to give you the top 3 floppers in the NBA. Coming in at number 3, you know him, you love him. It's the king, LeBron. Ooh, look at this. Beautiful, beautiful acting job preparing him for Space Jam 2. At number 2, we got Chris Paul. Oh man, he is so annoying. Why is Chris Paul so annoying? Why are you like this, Chris Paul? And at number 1, yes, I think a lot of people can guess this. It's James Harden. His catchphrase is fear the beard. I would say it's more like fear the free-throw line. And all this wouldn't be possible if Vlade Divac didn't introduce it to our beautiful game. Vlade Divac pretend fell so that other NBA players could also pretend fall. And we thank him for it. And on a more serious note, there are actually like a bunch of great European players through the years. Of course, who could forget Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili, both played for those legendary Spurs dynasties that dominated the early 2000s. And yes, I know, Manu Ginobili is Argentinian. But once again, I'm going to make him an honorary European because he came up through the Euro Leagues, and he was one of the first players to really popularize the Euro step. Yeah, your go-to move in 2K was given to the NBA by an Argentinian who came up through the European leagues. And oh yeah, Tony Parker, who was French, and beyond being a great point guard for many years in the NBA, winning a bunch of championships, he just banged so many hot women. And then after he retired, just complained about a bunch of stuff. So definitely French. And then, how about this connection? NBA legend Kobe Bryant actually grew up in Europe. Now, yes, he was born in Philly, but he moved to Italy when he was 6, and he was actually fluent in Italian.
Io sono cresciuto qui in Italia. Allora sarà sempre un posto che sarà vicino al mio cuore, sempre.
Italy is actually where he learned to play basketball, and after that he actually spent a little bit of time in France. Kobe was always fond of Europe, and he even grew up an AC Milan fan. I'll give it to you guys. If you want another honorary European, you guys can claim Kobe Bryant, because Philly doesn't claim him. In fact, Philadelphia made him cry. This was when he won the All-Star game in the 90s, and the Philly crowd, his hometown crowd, booed him. Always sunny in Philly. So Europeans, if you want to claim Kobe Bryant, I'll give it to you too. And listen, there's a lot of names that I'm missing here. There's Rudy Gobert, who's probably the best defender in the league right now. The Gasol brothers, who were monsters in their prime. Tony Kukoc, who is part of those legendary Michael Jordan Bulls teams. The past, present, and future of the NBA is European, bro. It's just before the internet. Y'all didn't know about this shit. Now, by this point, you might be noticing that beyond the Mavericks, I'm not really recommending a lot of teams. And that's because how much power players have now to just move around or team up with superstars on other teams like it's a Marvel movie. And you, as a new fan, are probably better off just finding players that you like, follow them throughout their careers. And younger fans in America are already doing this. They are more fans of players than they are of teams, and I can't blame them. When LeBron has played for Cleveland, then Miami, then back to Cleveland, then to the Lakers, and finally to the Toon Squad, there really is no team loyalty anymore. James Harden has forced his way off of a team in back-to-back seasons. The big stars in the NBA are all Zlatans. They're just playing for all the teams. I get it. You don't have to stay loyal to any teams. You want to watch the Ronaldo of the NBA play the Messi of the NBA, the Mbappe of the NBA play the Haaland of the NBA. And as a new fan, I'm going to give you a couple of sleepers, a couple of young players that are just budding into superstardom that I think would be good bets to tie your horse to. First up, and I think this is what everybody's money's on. He's the most fun player to watch in the league right now. It's Ja Morant.
Where is Ja?
When he was initially drafted, he was considered the consolation prize in the Zion Williams sweepstakes. But ever since then, Zion has really struggled to stay healthy, while Ja, with a chip on his shoulder the size of Mount Everest, has just become the most electrifying player to watch in the NBA. He's become this weird mix of prime D Rose and Allen Iverson, explosiveness and absolute fearlessness at the rim, monster dunks, sick handles, and the attitude and swag to match. I mean, literally, this man has no fear. He is a marauder that leaves piles of bodies in his wake. And I know I said earlier that there's probably no need to follow any teams, but the team he's on, the Memphis Grizzlies, are a fantastic watch this season. They are a rare breed in modern professional sports because they are all young and they all seem to really love each other. Authenticity is so rare these days. A lot of people talk about it, but the Memphis Grizzlies, they're about it. And you know what? They want all the smoke. They are rude, disrespectful, and I love it. They went at LeBron's Lakers and cooked his old ass. Look at him. He was tight. Oh man, LeBron was so bad. They were up by 20 and they were still killing him. Just straight up just talking shit to the King's face. They are young, they are ride or die for each other, and they don't give a fuck who they play. And guess what? They've already smoked the Warriors twice this season. They beat the Lakers, and absolutely no one wants to see them in the playoffs. If you have to watch just one game a week, my money, watch the Memphis Grizzlies and Ja Morant. And probably the second most fun young player to watch this year is LaMelo Ball. You might know him, he's the youngest of the acclaimed Ball clan, and he's been a celeb since high school. And there were some questions about him when he was younger, but now that he's made it into the NBA, he has kind of turned into everything we thought his brother was going to be. He is an elite playmaker, vision for days, and he does it with spice. He's a throwback to the days of one of my favorite players of all time, White Chocolate Jason Williams. Because look at these dimes, man. The no-look underhand pass. So pretty. He's only in his second year in the league, and he's already an all-star. Now, if you watch his highlights, you think that his three-point range is infinite. But in actuality, if you kind of look at the stats, he needs to improve on the consistency there. But, that's like every other young player that I mentioned so far. And honestly, when you watch him, it's not for the consistency. It's for the sizzle and the swag. If you want a little showtime, if you want a little razzle-dazzle, then LaMelo Ball, probably the most fun watch. And speaking of watching, there has never been a better time to get into the NBA if you live outside of America. Because I'm going to let you in on a little secret, my friend. And that is, most American fans don't even watch the full games live anymore. In the regular season, there's 80 bajillion games, each of them 2 hours long, jam-packed with commercial breaks. You're not going to watch any of that. And most American fans don't. In fact, a lot of us, we just watch the highlights on YouTube. Here's a pro tip, just go ahead, just look up NBA highlights and then just cover the score with your hand and click on it. And it's almost just as good. It's all condensed down to like 20, 15 minutes. You can watch multiple games, one after another, and you can go ahead, cherry pick all the sweetest matchups. Giannis plays LeBron, KD versus Joel Embiid, LaMelo versus Ja Morant. It's dope to just have this in your entertainment rotation. And then you'll have another thing to look forward to every week, because God knows we need more distractions in our lives right now. Fuck 2022. But I do have one last note before I leave you, and that is, after every big matchup of the week, you have to watch the NBA's version of Match of the Day. It's called Inside the NBA, and this is pound for pound. I don't think it's even close. It's the best post-game commentary show of any sport. I put it up against anyone. I know Match of the Day is great. I even like Match of the Day. But it's everyone else, and it's Inside the NBA. Because these guys are genuinely hilarious. They just have the best natural chemistry. Just look at these clips.
Chuck, I bet you $20 I'll buy the chip, won't even make a face.
Bet. Not making a face.
Don't
water
no.
yet. No water yet, brother.
It's nothing to me.
I sound a little...
I'm not making a face, though.
Yes, you are.
I'm just coughing. I'm not making a face. I'm just coughing.
That counts as a face.
I'm not making, Ernie, I'm coughing.
I know, when you go...
Ernie, I'm coughing. This would be making me like, I'm not making a face. Oh, it's hot. Anybody got some milk? You win, Chuck. God. Whew. Water made it worse.
Make you want to jump out your clothes, man. I ain't gonna lie. He's not exaggerating, man. I know he's not. He's not exaggerating. That thing is crazy.
So go ahead, start off slow, brother. Go watch some Luka highlights on YouTube. Maybe good luck over there in Europe. God bless the people of Ukraine. God bless everyone who's dying in that fucking war. Even the Russians. I just don't want to see any of that shit. But yeah, that's it for me, BMOnus. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Remember, stay yourself, stay humble. Until next time, boys, stay thick. America.